The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS The Voice of Stockton or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Phone Booth here on KXVS, the voice of San Joaquin. My name is Edward Heitman, and joining me in the studio, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Rodriguez.
Hello.
How you doing today, Brian?
Pretty good.
Good to hear, good to hear. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with what this show is all about, the Phone Booth is a show that is completely dedicated to the world of pop culture. Anything from movies to TV shows to video games to comic books, you name it, and we do our very best to cover it. Now, luckily today we actually have some good little discussion topics to talk about. We even got some charts and whatnot to go into full depth about all this stuff. Now, of course, as always, we have to begin with our weekly recap, in which we go over some of the things that have happened within this week. Now, first topic. Fallout 76 is making people angry. It's a reoccurring theme for sure on this show.
Feels like its own segment at a certain point.
76 really is causing some real controversies. But anyways, this week, Bethesda has pushed yet another in a long string of patches for Fallout 76. However, in typical Bethesda fashion, this patch broke more things than it fixed. Not only did it introduce new bugs into the game, but it also reintroduced old bugs that had been squashed. Things like item duplication and the absurdly heavy bobby pins have returned, which I find absurd because that was one of the main things that fans were really upset about, and they were actually really happy when Bethesda actually fixed the heavy bobby pin problem.
Yeah, what it looks like happened is Bethesda says at some point in the launch process for the patch, they essentially launched the wrong patch, so it actually launched a previous version of the game pre the last patch, so it was 2 patches ago version, back when it still had heavy bobby pins and item duplication and all this. So they essentially, they pushed the wrong patch that broke the game. And it's just, really? Really? You did this. They desperately need some sort of change in leadership. I'm not saying anyone should get fired, and I'm not saying that, like, I could do it better. I definitely could not. But something needs to change, because it has just been screw up after screw up. Not even on the marketing side with the Nuka Dark ROM in the bag. That's an entire other thing. But it's things like pushing the wrong patch, or breaking nukes, or just the litany of bugs and broken features that launched with the game. Whoever is in charge of this project needs to be taken off. Don't fire them, put them somewhere else, or maybe have them, be subordinate to the new person in charge so they can see, hopefully how to fix this in the future. But it's something needs to change. I don't even play this game, and I am exhausted with it. I can't even imagine how a hardcore Fallout 76 player must feel at this point.
I find it interesting that, the whole item duplication, heavy bobby pin thing had returned, because the last patch that it was supposed to have repaired this was also what had caused the whole hidden developer room controversy, where people were able to find every single item that was ever out there and ever will be out there, along with the only human NPC. And I'm sure y'all have heard about this. We talked about it on our show previously, and also a lot of people are getting into some serious trouble for discovering this secret developer room. YouTubers are getting copyright claimed for it. People are getting banned from it. Basically, if you're a World of Warcraft player, it's the same equivalency of finding the hidden developers island and then being banned because you found the hidden developers island. And I find it interesting that after this bug was fixed and people discovered the room, now we're dealing with the exact same bugs again. It's just too coincidental.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and this type of thing isn't new for Bethesda. Remember way back in Skyrim when they had to release a huge patch to fix a bunch of things, but also broke a bunch of things, like dragons flying backwards. That was thing.
That was fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, and it's just... Bethesda just doesn't seem to be that good at making or fixing games at a certain point. They make big games, but you can have the biggest game in the world, and if it's still broken at its core, it's still a broken game.
Yeah, it always felt like Bethesda's main focus was just create a game with a really open world. Which is great, because games with really open worlds tend to have very rich storylines, good side quests, and all that stuff. But Bethesda has the poor reputation of creating a game with a huge open world and then just leaving it at that. They don't want to comb over it, fix the small little bugs here and there and there. And they do, I mean, they still do try and fix things with patches and whatnot. But it seems as if once they create the world, they're kind of just leaving it in its current condition, you know?
It's going to be interesting to see what this year's E3 was like. Because I remember in E3 2018 going into it, the EA press conference specifically, with a sense of what are they going to do? Because it was, you know, the first big press conference post the Battlefront 2 fiasco, all of that. And it was a noticeably more subdued affair. They barely talked about Battlefront, and overall it was just not that great of a conference. So It's going to be interesting to see how Bethesda, because they'll either completely ignore 76 and just try to brush it off. They won't, you know, announce any new content for it. Or they can own up to their mistakes and hopefully get back some fan goodwill, even a smallest amount.
They have to. Because I remember with E3 2018, Bethesda was not the worst company to present their games that year.
Yeah.
EA had flopped pretty bad, and a lot of the games that Square Enix had shown, they had already let other developers show off in their E3 performances. So Bethesda still has the potential to grab people's attention. It's just, I mean, they just had to do a different project. People were a little interested with Fallout 76 when it was announced.
Yeah, because it was, you know, the standard pre-rendered trailer and the, you know, polished gameplay to a mirror shine, nothing out of place, no bugs. It looked like it could be good. And then it really, really wasn't.
It really, really, really wasn't. But, I mean, one can hope that eventually 76 does get fixed to a fairly decent condition. I know some people out there who are pretty avid Fallout 76 fans, you know, and I just want to make sure that they have a really good gameplay experience. I mean, they still enjoy the game. I just want them to enjoy it even more and have to deal with less bugs than usual. Anyways, on to the next little topic. I'll pass it over to you, Brian. Take it away.
So, according to reports, we may be getting a new Titanfall game sooner than we expected. Now, for a little bit of backstory, we know Titanfall came out in, I believe, 2014 as an exclusive Xbox One title. It was online only and really got... I mean, it was a good game, but it sort of got torn apart for being a console-exclusive, online-only game with no single-player, only multiplayer. And then Titanfall 2 came out in 2016, and it was much better received. It had a fantastic single-player mode. The multiplayer mode was still great, and they made a bunch of improvements. But for some reason, EA decided to release it in the week between the releases of that year's Call of Duty and that year's Battlefield. In fact, Battlefield, also published by EA, came out the week before. Call of Duty came out the week later. So they released this already struggling shooter in between the two giants of the genre. So despite all the good press that Titanfall 2 got, it really didn't sell that well.
Yeah.
So 2017, Respawn, the developer, got bought by EA. And we haven't really heard much from them. We know they are working on a Star Wars title that's supposed to be out at the end of this year, but we don't know much about that besides the title. But apparently, they are supposed to be releasing a new Titanfall title this Monday.
Yeah. It's confused everybody who's found out about this because there was no advertising for it. Like, whatsoever. It's just out of nowhere, bam, we're getting a Titanfall game.
It hasn't been officially announced, but according to multiple reports, including Rod Breslow of, he's an esports journalist, and Jason Schreier of Kotaku, the game will be called Apex Legends and will be releasing on Monday. It's supposed to be a Battle Royale type game where you do not play as the Titans. You just play as the human soldiers, which is... Who made that decision?
Seriously.
I mean, Titanfall at its combat is very fast-paced, but really what it has going for it is the giant robots.
That was its thing.
That's what set it apart, was the giant robots.
That's why everybody wanted to play it. That's why the trailers looked so epic. That's why people wanted to get their hands on Titanfall so they could go around in their own giant robot suit and just obliterate other people in giant robot suits. To take them out of it just kind of defeats the purpose of it being a Titanfall game.
It's like if they made a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, except there were no robot dinosaurs. That's like your entire pitch there. That's why anyone bought the game. You take that out, guess what? You're Brave. You are Disney's Brave. That's all you got. You're a red-headed archer.
Oh, man.
But, again, these are unconfirmed reports. Maybe they're all wrong somehow. But, come Monday, we may have a new, weird, seemingly ill-thought-out Titanfall game. I mean, I'll be trying it. I'll be giving it a shot. I've always sort of been interested in Titanfall. But let's see how this plays out.
I'm not exactly interested because A, they removed the pilots, the giant robots, which was a huge selling point for me, and then also the fact that they're going Battle Royale. There are so many Battle Royale games out there right now. If you want a third-person Battle Royale, you have H1Z1, DayZ, I believe. You have PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You have Fortnite. If you want a first-person Battle Royale mode, there's Blackout mode right now for Black Ops 4. Do we really need another Battle Royale mode? Like, is it necessary?
Well, at least the rumor is that this game's going to be free to play, so at least it'll land in sort of the Fortnite camp of you don't have to pay $30 for a Battle Royale mode, or
yeah, fair enough,
50 or 60 or whatever the Call of Duty was released for. But then again, it's also supposedly published by EA, so get ready for those microtransactions.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bit of a bummer. Yeah. But once it's dropped, I mean, if there's any news surrounding the game, we'll be sure to inform you guys, as always. Anyways, moving on to the next topic. DC has had a pretty big week this week. It was announced that Matt Reeves' The Batman will be releasing in 2021, while The Hollywood Reporter revealed 2 other projects. The first is The Suicide Squad, the sequel/reboot of 2016's Suicide Squad, written and potentially directed by James Gunn. The second is an animated film based on DC superhero pets. Now, I'm interested in all 3 of these movies. For Matt Reeves' The Batman, supposedly it's going to be a noir that focuses more on Batman's detective skills, and there are multiple villains, which honestly we kind of need, because Batman movies, they seem to focus so much on just the gadgets and the action-packed fights that we hardly ever get to see Batman do some genuine detective work.
Yeah, I've always thought there are 3 aspects of Batman. There's the vigilante, the crime fighter, there's the detective, and then there's Bruce Wayne. And so far I think we've gotten a good Bruce Wayne in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh yeah.
And a great vigilante in the Tim Burton movies, and then I guess Joel Schumacher, because you kind of have to accept the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Then we got Ben Affleck, who wasn't really any of those, mainly because he wasn't really given enough time to be any of those. They didn't let him be a detective. They didn't really let him be a vigilante, because it was just sort of fighting Superman the entire time, and then some parademons. And we barely got to see him as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Which I think is unfortunate. So I'm hoping that the Matt Reeves movie will really give us this great detective, so we can finally have that part of Batman fleshed out a bit more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Another movie out of these 3 that I'm interested in is the fact that James Gunn is working on The Suicide Squad. Because, quite honestly, out of any superhero, supervillain, vigilante group in the DC cinematic universe for him to work on, Suicide Squad seems like a very good pick.
Yeah.
Especially since it kind of would have the same style that Guardians of the Galaxy had when he was working on those films.
Yeah, we've seen that James Gunn works well doing more comedic movies with a large cast of not necessarily good guys. I mean, the Guardians are obviously the good guys, but they all start out, escaping from prison. They're criminals, they're murderers, and eventually they become good guys.
Yeah.
What I do kind of hate is the fact that They're not calling it Suicide Squad 2. They're calling it The Suicide Squad. So you'll have Suicide Squad, and then 5 years later, The Suicide Squad. It's just... Why? Why do you name it like this?
Well, I mean, in all fairness, lots of movies seem to have this issue with sharing a similar title to a previous installment of the franchise.
I swear to God, if this gets a sequel and it's called Suicide Squad 3, I'm going to throw something. Because you'll have Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad, and then Suicide Squad 3. What is... Names have meaning.
I mean, it's interesting. Now, as far as the DC superhero pets go, I am so glad that it is animated.
Yeah, the initial report didn't say animated. That came out the next day. So when Henwood and I were talking about it the night that it got announced, we were sort of freaking out, trying to figure out, really? Are they going to try to make this a live-action movie? Are they going to put that much money into it?
It just would not work. If you've ever seen Disney's live-action film Underdog, you would realize that this just does not work live action.
It really doesn't.
It does not. It does not work. But, you know, animated, I'm willing to give it a shot because I have to admit, when I was a kid, I used to enjoy watching Crypto the Super Dog when it was on Kids WB.
That was...
So, yeah.
A good show for the age group it was aiming for. I've rewatched some episodes recently with my little sister, and it very much was targeting her age group.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely fun. And you could tell that this movie is going to be aiming for that age group, or at least I hope so, because you can't really grab adults with the super pets.
Yeah.
You just can't.
We don't know which pets are going to be in it, but we can assume probably Crypto the Super Dog, Ace the Bat Hound, maybe Streaky, Supergirl's cat, who sometimes has superpowers, and I'm praying Bat Cow.
Bat Cow. What about Supergirl's horse? The one that turned into a guy.
Well, to be fair, if they go back to the 60s and 50s, they have a whole bunch of... There was Super Monkey, Super Horse.
Oh, man, Super Monkey. I forgot that one.
Depending on how far they go back, they have a lot of options to pick from. Mostly for Superman, though.
We're going to have to do a segment on that someday. Just all of the ridiculous super pets in the DC universe and whatnot.
Most likely.
Anyways, I'll pass this next little bit of news over to you, my good friend.
So Nintendo is going to have a very busy summer this year. They just announced that they will be releasing a new Dr. Mario game for mobile called Dr. Mario World. It is supposed to be coming out globally in early summer of 2019. It doesn't look like it's going to be Japan first and then everywhere else, or if it's going to be like Super Mario Run with iOS first then Android later. Looks like it's just going to be all platforms. Now this comes out the same week they announced the delay of Mario Kart World Tour, their Mario Kart mobile game, which is supposed to be coming out in March, but has also been delayed until summer 2019. Again, no exact release dates, but both of these coming out in summer, both of them, you know, presumably 3D Mario games for mobile. It's gonna be interesting.
It's definitely gonna be interesting. I find it interesting that we're getting a Dr. Mario game, seeing as that Dr. Mario in itself is super old. And not many people really knew much about Dr. Mario or have had the chance to play Dr. Mario unless you played as him in like Smash Bros.
That's where I first heard of him. It was I unlocked him in Smash Bros. Melee, and it was years before I learned, oh, he actually has a game. This isn't just another skin for Mario.
Yeah, I remember playing Dr. Mario, but I was always a generation behind everybody on consoles. So I always played the older console before I got the new one. So. But yeah, I think it's interesting that it's a mobile Dr. Mario game. Because you know what? I would genuinely play it. Because Dr. Mario was a fun game to play.
Yeah, it's sort of a Tetris-type game. And it will work really well on mobile, I think. I think it'll probably... I'm not sure. I think they're going to stick with the original formula, but I think it'll work well.
I think so. I definitely think so. Anyways, on to the next little topic. Now, a few weeks ago, we talked about how Machinima's entire YouTube library had been taken down. This happened only a few months after the company was acquired by Otter Media. Unfortunately, that appears to have been the final nail in the coffin, as yesterday, Otter Media confirmed that Machinima was shutting its doors. Some remaining staff will be shuffled into Otter Media, while the rest will be laid off. This is so unfortunate.
Yep.
Machinima was such a great channel. One of my favorite YouTube animated shows that I would watch was one that would come out from Machinima Happy Hour, where they did the whole 8-bit shows and whatnot. And I enjoyed watching Sonic for Hire. And I also enjoyed watching the show that was a semi-spin-off to the series, Mega Man Dies at the End. And I know a lot of people who had other Machinima series that they enjoyed. I know I enjoyed a Terminator Salvation series that was on Machinima and everything. And the fact that they just closed their doors it's just sad.
Yeah, Machinima, they had a 19-year history. They were a pioneer of YouTube and basically online gaming content in general. They were up there with places like Rooster Teeth, and that they paved the way for what we now view. I doubt Twitch in its current form or YouTube in its current form would exist without Machinima.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see it go.
It really is. And it's an even bigger shame that a good portion of the staff working at Machinima are going to be laid off.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that some of them are being reacquired by Otter Media. I kind of hope that there was as many employees that could be reacquired as possible. But to any of the other ones out there who have to be laid off and everything, I personally hope that there is some other media source out there who would be willing to take you under their wing and whatever. Let you work for them. Make some more great content. 'Cause Machinima had some really great stuff in its content, you know? Great staff working on everything, you know? And it's just always a shame to hear about a group of people just having to be laid off suddenly, you know? I mean, I can only hope that this was, like, planned. The employees at least saw it coming, not like a Telltale Games thing where it was just out of the blue, you have to go. But that's really all I really have to say about it. What are your thoughts, man?
It's unfortunate that something so big and so influential can just be gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone. The YouTube is gone. All the stuff on there is gone. There's no indication that they'll be letting the creators that created content for them come back or take their stuff back, repost it. It looks like this may just be gone forever. And that's really sad. It
is. All I can really do is just kind of hope to hear some news about what's going on with the current staff of Machinima and whatnot. And hopefully there's some good news. And if there isn't any good news, that'd be unfortunate, but I always like to look forward to the good things. Well, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that about does it for our weekly recap. And now it is time for us to enter a little segment that we like to call Trailer Talk. And in this segment, Brian and I will talk about some of the trailers that have dropped within this week and everything, as well as sharing some of our opinions on it. Now, the first trailer we're going to be talking about here in Trailer Talk is none other than the first trailer to Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
Its U.S. release date is August 2nd, 2019. And it's starring Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, and others. And the synopsis that it gives us is that it's a spin-off of The Fate of the Furious, focusing on Dwayne Johnson's U.S. diplomatic security agent Luke Hobbs forming an unlikely alliance with Jason Statham's Deckard Shaw. And it's directed by David Leitch. We have reached superhero movie levels with the Fast and Furious universe. It literally begins with Idris Elba basically explaining how he has gone full superhuman. He cannot be hurt as easily, he is way stronger, he is way faster, he has these like implants in him and everything.
Yep.
He's just gone full superhuman. And he's out there causing all this trouble, and the only people that can stop him is Hobbs and Shaw. I am looking forward to it because they also like to play off of the fact that these two just absolutely hate each other.
Well, to be fair, Shaw did try to kill everyone in the previous Fast and Furious movie. He killed Han in Fast and Furious 3, though they sort of retconned that in. And they have no reason to like him, even though at the end of, I think, 7, they sort of played it off as, oh, he's part of the family now, even though he murdered other people in our family and tried to kill all of us.
Yeah, Vin Diesel kind of just goes all over the place with the whole family thing, in all fairness.
Family.
But, you know, it looks fun. As always with these new spin-offs, since you're not really being too serious about the franchise and everything, it looks like the perfect popcorn film. I remember back when I was over at Delta College, I had a show, Miserable Media, that was all about talking about really cheesy action movies and just plain cheesy movies in general. And this looks like one of those movies that I would talk about on that show, because it just looks so fun to watch the ridiculousness that is in this movie.
Yeah, we have one scene where Dwayne Johnson leaps out of a skyscraper after people rappelling down family and plummets 20 stories to tackle someone out of the air, and then grabs onto a second guy family and swings him into a descending elevator family.
You doing okay there, man? You seem to be saying family quite a lot.
Well, yeah, it's Fast and the Furious. You need to mention family at least every 15 seconds there's not an explosion or car chase on scene.
Ah, fair enough.
Family.
But yeah, you definitely have to watch this movie, ladies and gentlemen, once it comes out. I am so looking forward to another trailer, family, and you gotta watch this movie as soon as possible. Now, on to the next little trailer. It is a trailer for a movie titled A Vigilante. Its U.S. release date is March 29th, 2019, starring Olivia Wilde, Morgan Spector, C.J. Wilson, and others. And the synopsis is about a vigilante who helps victims escape their domestic abusers. And it's directed by Sarah Dagger Nixon. This looks genuinely interesting. Whenever you think of the term vigilante, you think of people like Batman or Deadpool. People who run around with lots of weapons and gadgets or something like that, and they fight crime while they're also technically against the law and everything. This extracts all that glory and gives you the idea of what a vigilante would actually look like in real life. Now, I want to say this. Olivia Wilde's performance, at least from what I've seen in this trailer, looks amazing.
Yeah.
She's a character who seems to be constantly on her breaking point. She's going to these meetings and whatnot for domestic abusers and things like that. And we also find out that she will go to houses where she knows that a woman is being abused by her husband or by somebody else, and basically beat up the abuser and help the lady escape.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But at the same time, you could also tell that doing this is also taking its toll on Olivia Wilde's character. Somehow. We're not necessarily sure how, it's just we could tell that throughout the whole trailer, she seems to be on a very, very thin breaking point.
Yeah, it looks very interesting, and it will tackle... I hope it tackles domestic abuse in a more accurate way, than it's typically viewed in media. I hope it does well, because it's a very important topic, and it looks like the creators of this are taking great care. The studios behind it are kind of odd. It's DirecTV and Saban, the Power Rangers people.
Yeah. It's odd that Saban is working on this. It's also weirder that DirecTV, of all people, are behind this project. I mean, they were working on another trailer we were talking about the previous week, Drunk Parents, but it's just really odd that DirecTV is kind of just working on movies now. Just out of nowhere.
I mean, if they have the money and they can, make good movies, more power to them.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I respect that. Anyways, it looks interesting. If you want to see some action, it looks like it's got good action in it. But if you also want to see a movie with some psychological aspects to it, I definitely recommend you check out the trailer and let yourself decide if it's a movie that you want to watch or whatnot. But I will admit that Olivia Wilde does a really good job in it, and I'm really tempted to see some more in another trailer if another one gets dropped.
Olivia Wilde's just fantastic.
She really is. She really is fantastic. Now, on to our last trailer. The White Crow, and this is the first trailer. The U.S. release date is 2019. We have not been given a specific month or day quite yet. It's starring Oleg Ivanko, Ralph Fiennes, Louise Hoffman, and others. The synopsis is that it's the story of Rudolf Nureyev's defection to the West, and it's directed by Ralph Fiennes. Now, from what I gathered from the trailer, because I'm not too familiar with this true story that it's based off of, Rudolf Nureyev is supposed to be one of the greatest ballet dancers of all time. I guess he did the White Crow and everything. And he eventually defected from Soviet Russia. I could be wrong here, but he defected from Soviet Russia and went over to France because this is around the time that Russia had its Iron Curtain. You're not allowed to talk to anybody outside of your country and things like that. And after he announces that he is not going back to Russia and everything, we're given the implication that his mere presence there is some attack on the Soviet Union. It looks good. It's not high octane, it's not super intense or anything like that. It's just something that you want to watch just to see how the story unfolds. You kind of just want to see what happens. And not many movies really have that genuine quality about it. And with most movies nowadays, the only way you can really get pulled into it is if there's some really high octane thing at stake. If there's going to be a really epic fight scene into it. If you've seen a trailer and there's explosions and you want to see those explosions. But this trailer, it pulls you in because you just want to see how it goes.
Yeah, there doesn't appear to be any high octane escape sequence for him or anything. It's simply him stating, I don't want to go back to Russia. And they make a point early on in the trailer that he doesn't know about the politics of this era. He's just a dancer. And it'll be interesting to see this. It'll be interesting to see the Cold War through the lens of someone who doesn't fully understand what's happening. Someone who's from the Soviet Union, who just wants to dance, who wants to be free, and who doesn't understand quite why the world is like this.
Yeah, it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to another trailer to come out, and I'm really tempted for you guys to check it out as well. Now, before we wrap up trailer talk, there was a teaser that dropped within this week that we do want you to check out as well. And this is the teaser trailer for the Birds of Prey movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't really go into full depth on this because there's not really much to unravel from the teaser. It's just a big face reveal.
Yeah, it's, as far as we can tell, every major character in costume being shown at some angle. Some of them aren't, fully revealed. Some of them are darker. And that's really it. We see Harley Quinn at the end, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and then the entire video is titled "See You Soon." So it's really not a trailer. It is just a teaser, though that sort of lost meaning in the current, trailer landscape.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't reveal any plot details. It literally just shows you, hey, here are the characters. We'll see you soon.
Now, of course, even though it's a teaser, we had to bring it up because DC has been doing a pretty good job at making teaser trailers for movies lately. The last teaser trailer we had talked about that was DC related that genuinely caught our interest was the teaser trailer for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Yes.
One of the greatest teasers I honestly have ever seen, but that's just my personal opinion. And with Birds of Prey, it kind of had the transition aspects of the first Suicide Squad. How when they introduced Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and everybody else, there was like neon flashes of light, quick camera angle transitions, and everything. And the Birds of Prey trailer seems to have that aspect to it. But it doesn't seem over dramatic. Now, you have to remember that with the first Suicide Squad movie, the reason why everything looked so odd was because they got people who worked on the trailer to do the genuine visual effects for some of the movie and whatnot, which is why the very beginning looked so flashy and glitzy and the rest was just super dark and whatnot. But it looks good. I like Margot Robbie's costume as Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I like everybody's costume. I'm glad that we finally got to see what Black Mask looks like, at least from the teaser aspect. We've not seen him with his actual mask that he's iconic with yet.
Yep. Just sort of Ewan McGregor, but it's still Ewan McGregor.
It's still Ewan McGregor, and I'm excited to see his portrayal of Black Mask, especially because it'll be the first time we get Black Mask on the silver screen.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good. Now, that's about it for trailer talk, ladies and gentlemen. Please feel free to check out the trailers to those movies, and if you liked them, be sure to let us know. Leave a comment below and let us know. And without further ado, it is time for us to get into our discussion pieces for today's episode. Now, the first one, if you haven't guessed by the title of today's episode, it has been confirmed that Ben Affleck is no longer Batman.
Yep, in the announcement for the Matt Reeves Batman release date, it was announced that they would be recasting Batman, and it seems to have been confirmed by Affleck.
Yes. Now, this isn't exactly a shocker to people out there, because this rumor has been speculating for quite a while. It started off with people not being sure if Henry Cavill was going to be Superman in the next upcoming Superman film, Man of Steel 2, because of creative differences between Cavill and his agent and Warner Brothers. But then after that, that spawned the theory that Ben Affleck was no longer Batman. And the people behind the Batman, the movie itself, they are very vague on letting us know exactly if he's going to be Batman or not.
Yeah.
Because it was still kind of up in smoke. We weren't really sure, but now it has been confirmed. And I find this interesting because what was so unfortunate about Ben Affleck's Batman was that he never had the opportunity to have his own standalone film.
Yeah.
He was introduced in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and then right after that, he was featured in the Justice League film. But he never had his own spin-off, whereas the other two of the big three, Superman and Wonder Woman, had their own standalone films. Granted, Wonder Woman's was right after Batman v Superman, but still, those two had their own time to shine, while the Batman was supposed to be his time in the spotlight. And it's kind of unfortunate that he's not going to be able to have his own moment, because we didn't get to have Ben Affleck's Batman as just Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah, Ben Affleck, I don't think he was a bad Batman. In fact, I think he was arguably the best part of both movies.
He was a great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. He was a great Bruce Wayne. He was a pretty good Batman, I think.
And to be honest, with Batman actors, they can never get the balance just right. They're always good at either one or the other.
Well, there was one who got it right, but he was a voice actor, Kevin Conroy.
That is true. That is true. But anyways, with Ben Affleck being gone, there is a question that is now floating around out there in Hollywood. Who is going to take the cowl next? Who will be Batman in the Batman? They have not speculated it yet, and there are rumors floating around. There are rumors that it might be a younger Batman. There are rumors that it just might be just a regular old actor out there in Hollywood. Nothing's really sure. But I figured it'd be a cool little opportunity for us to kind of speculate on who we think would be a nice little replacement. So, Brian, you go ahead and start first. Who do you think would be a good replacement for the Batman?
Well, see, I'm operating under the assumption that they may not have it be Bruce Wayne as Batman. They have said that it will be a younger Batman, but they specifically say a younger Batman, not necessarily a younger Bruce Wayne. So I'm thinking this might be a good opportunity for them to branch out in the mythos a bit and maybe have Dick Grayson as Batman as he took over after Bruce Wayne got lost in time, and it was an entire thing anyway. And I think that maybe they should bring Joseph Gordon-Levitt back. I really like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I liked him in The Dark Knight Rises, and that ended with the teaser that he would become the Batman. And I'm not saying it'd be his exact character from The Dark Knight Rises, but I think he could make a good Batman.
He would. You know what? I gotta agree with that. Joseph Gordon-Levitt would make a decent Batman. However, I honestly kind of hope that they don't go with the younger Batman. I kind of hope that it's just regular old Batman, because this is the opportunity to see Batman put his detective skills to use. And if he's aged more, we still get the cool action scenes, we still get the gadgets, and then we can get the detective scenes, and we don't really have to do those small little scenes in between where Batman's like, what am I doing? Is what I'm doing right? The whole back and forth battle in his head. I personally kind of hope that John Hamm gets the opportunity to be the Batman. If you guys aren't familiar with him, John Hamm was one of the main villains in Baby Driver, and he was also a key character in one of my favorite noir movies of all time, Bad Times at the El Royale. And if you look at him, he has the Bruce Wayne face, kind of, I guess. He's got the charisma to him. But then he also has the athletic build to be able to pull off a Batman suit, in my opinion. And he has had fans talk to him, asking him if he could be the Batman. And he's openly said he would jump on the opportunity to be Batman if he was offered the opportunity to be Batman. And you know what? I kind of have to agree with the fans. I think John Hamm would be a pretty good Batman. What do you think?
I think he'd be pretty good. I think he could pull off a great Bruce Wayne. I'm not sure how well he'd pull off Batman, but it could be good. I don't know. Fun fact, John Hamm was actually going to play Mr. Sinister in the X-Men movies before they cut him.
Really?
Yeah, he was supposed to appear in a post-credit scene for, I believe, X-Men Apocalypse as Mr. Sinister, but then they cut him for whatever reason. And they've actually been building up to him for a while, and now that the movies are ending, it looks like they'll never actually get the payoff to it. Anyway, that's off topic, but yes, I think John Hamm could be good. A popular rumor is Armie Hammer.
Yes, Armie Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a lot of people have been talking about Armie Hammer, saying that he'd be a pretty good Batman, and you know what? I gotta agree with him. I think he'd be pretty good.
I honestly have never seen Armie Hammer in anything. I believe he was actually in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Henry Cavill.
Yes.
So they may have some chemistry. Armie Hammer's one of those names I've always heard, never seen him in anything. Couldn't tell you, but I've seen pictures of him, and yeah, he's got a handsome face. He's got, a nice jawline. He looks like he visually could be Batman.
Yeah.
I have no reference for his acting skill or his acting style, so.
Fair enough. Yeah, Armie Hammer could be a pretty good Batman, but then again, I'm kind of on the same boat as you. I never really got to see him do much acting. I've just seen pictures, and I just remember the name because it's such an awesome name. But he could pull off a good Batman, but right now, it's all in mystery. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows right now who will be the Batman. And we want to hear from you, the audience. Who do you think could be the next Batman? Please, leave a comment below on our video. We would like to know who you think would be a good replacement for Ben Affleck as the Batman. Now, without further ado, it is time for us to move on to the next little discussion topic.
Oh, here it goes.
And this is about one of my favorite video game franchises that I've ever had the opportunity to play, the Metro series. In particular, Metro Exodus. Now, in case you aren't familiar, Metro Exodus has been moved from Steam to Epic Games as an exclusive. It is no longer going to be available on Steam. I'm going to let you go into depth into it, Brian, since you know a lot more about it than I do.
Okay, so the game is due to be released on February 15th. But on January 28th, only a few days ago, the publisher Deep Silver announced that they would be taking the game off of Steam and releasing it exclusively on the Epic Games storefront. Now, anyone who pre-ordered through Steam would have their pre-orders honored, and they said that all DLC would be across all platforms. So I guess if you manage to buy it on Steam, you can still buy the DLC on Steam or something. I'm not 100% sure how that will work.
Okay.
However, one big caveat for this is that it's going to be released on the Epic Store for $10 less than it was on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
They are touting the fact that Epic gives developers a larger cut than, Steam takes 30%, Epic takes 12%, so they can release it for $10 less. But if you look at this and go, the people that pre-ordered on Steam are the big fans that wanted to support these developers. And now the publishers turned around and said, thanks for your early support, we've just essentially scammed you out of $10. And no, it's not technically a scam, but it's still. Essentially, you had to pay an extra $10 because you were a fan and wanted to support this game. Everyone else gets it for $10 left, so there's a lot of things I can't say on air right now.
Yeah, this whole thing is just, it leaves such a bad taste in your mouth, because not only did it just transition over to Steam, but then also this happened to have made things blow up. All of a sudden, people are starting to talk about Steam's toxic fan base. One of the things that frustrates me the most about this, the fact that Exodus got moved, is not the fact that it got moved. I would probably, if I got to play Exodus, it would probably be on a console, not a PC anyways. Mm-hmm. But what upsets me about this is that now that Exodus has been moved, people are severely negatively reviewing the other two installments of the Metro franchise, Metro 2044 and Metro Last Light. And in their negative descriptions, they're just telling people to avoid the Epic Game Store. That is not how you fight an opposing game store.
Yeah.
If you're mad that a game and a franchise you loved got moved over to another site, you don't severely tarnish the possibility of others being introduced to this franchise just because you got your underwear in a twist. Because when you think about it, there are a lot of people, like myself, who don't read the reviews on video games. All I see is just the overall score. If the overall score is bad, I'm not going to touch it because everybody says it's bad. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to look at these Metro games. They're going to hear about Exodus and be like, oh, this is interesting. I might want to check out 2044, or might want to check out Last Light. And they'll see that it has a severely negative score, and they're just going to go, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to give this a shot. Clearly, these two were bad. Why would I start from the beginning?
Yeah, what I think this could have gone over so much better is if they just released it for $60 on Epic. If they I mean, behind the scenes, yeah, they would have been making more money, but people expect $60 as a price tag, and that way it wouldn't have looked so much like they're just rolling over on their own fans. That they're just taking advantage of them. If they just released it on Epic and said, yeah, we're not selling it on Steam anymore, but it's the same price and we'll be honoring Steam pre-orders, I think it could have gone so much better. But no.
Yeah, and honestly, from the information you gather, because we have a little chart here about this, all the people involved in Exodus seem to have differing opinions on this.
Okay, so let's break this down, starting with the publishers. The publishers are THQ Nordic AB. That's the top publisher. It's basically the parent company of all of THQ Nordic. Mm-hmm. Then under that is THQ Nordic GmbH, which is, a subsidiary. Then under that is the publisher Deep Silver, who is publishing Metro Exodus. Deep Silver is publishing Exodus, but it is owned by THQ Nordic, both versions. Now, the developers are Koch Media, who own the IP, and 4A Games, who are owned by Koch Media, who actually develop Exodus. So the decision was made between Deep Silver and Koch Media to move the game over to the Epic Games Store. After that, in THQ Nordic GmbH, the next one up the ladder after Deep Silver, expressed their opinion basically saying, yeah, we didn't do this. This was all Deep Silver and Koch Media. We did not make this decision. And it was very obviously trying to shift the blame away from THQ. However, then THQ Nordic AB, top of the ladder, top of the food chain, released a statement approving of Deep Silver and Koch Media's decision. So you've got the head honchos approving of it, THQ Nordic GmbH disapproving of it. You've got Deep Silver and Koch Media that did it. You've got 4A Games, who have really not expressed an opinion one way or the other. They're just trying to develop the game. Though one of the developers had said that if it doesn't sell well on PC, the next Metro game won't come out on PC, which this will not help with that. And then you've got Exodus. And I'm reminded of a few years ago, I believe it was actually with Metro Last Light, where they announced that a pre-order bonus and later piece of DLC was the Ranger difficulty, which they touted as the proper and best difficulty to play the game on.
Hardcore mode.
Yeah, and they were essentially saying that they weren't shipping the game with the core experience in it. They were selling the core experience that this game was designed around as a piece of DLC or pre-order bonus content. And that's just...
It's insane.
It's insane and it's insulting.
It really is.
This entire thing has turned me off to the Metro series because, one really bad decision, sure, I can get over that. They were fine. It's not good, but they seem to have been fine from then on. But this, I don't know. This has just turned me off to the series.
And you see, it's things like that genuinely upset me, because I'd be the person who wants people to play the Metro games. It's got a genuine story behind it. They try so hard to stick to the original materials that are given to them. When you play it's one of the few games, it's like The Witcher. When you play the Metro games, you're tempted to read the books because you're so invested into the game. You find out that it's tied into the books that you want to read the books as well, so you can understand a bit more of the story and everything. And the fact that there are so many poor decisions being made around this franchise, that it's driving so many people away from trying this amazing game, is such a disappointment to me. Because it's always a bummer when you're really interested in a game franchise and nobody wants to try it. I'm a very hardcore Persona fanatic. I like playing the Persona games. And it took me a while to get people to get interested in that franchise, and it's only because of the fact that Persona 5 had dropped. And after Persona 5 had dropped, people were interested in playing that franchise again. you know? So, I mean, I don't know. Anyways, the next little discussion piece, I'm going to pass it over to you, Brian, and this is regarding a new game that got dropped by EA, well, one that's been recently able to play on EA, Anthem. Take it away, my friend.
Okay, so I got till Sunday at 6 p.m., Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to go play it, you should go download it and play it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'll have a more in-depth impression a little later on in this piece. But right now, we're going to talk about the Anthem chart, as it's become known. It is a chart that EA released detailing the ways to play Anthem, because this is complicated enough that you have to know the certain ways you can play Anthem. Now, there are 5 different versions of Anthem on this. There is the standard pre-order, there's the deluxe edition pre-order, the Legion of Dawn pre-order, there's the EA Access version, there's the Origin Access basic version, and there's the Origin Access Premier version. Okay, so every one of these versions has access to the demo that's going on this weekend. The Origin Access Premier version, that's PC only, gets to play the game a week early. Now, the EA Access, which is Xbox One, and Origin Basic Access, which is, PC, but it's, the downgrade version of Premier, they get to play a 10-hour trial of the game starting on February 15th. Now, everyone else, the standard pre-order, the Legend of Dawn pre-order, the Origin Access Premier, also get the full game a week later on February 22nd. So basically, unless you are playing on PC, you have to wait until the 22nd to play the game. Only the top level of Origin's subscription service gets to play the game a week early on PC. You can play, a demo of it on Xbox One and Origin Access on PC starting that day. If you're on PS4, sucks to be you. I mean, they haven't released any sort of EA Access thing for PS4. It's only on Xbox One. And then everyone else, the people that pre-ordered it, get to play it on the 22nd. Now, this is insane.
It makes no sense.
This is insane. This should not be this complicated. You make a game. You release a game. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. You don't need these complicated nonsense. I mean, I get, okay, the basic version's only having access to a demo. But you know what? You release all the versions, including the demo, on the same day.
You don't need a chart for this.
This is not something that requires a chart. And this, I've seen a lot of confusion about this online because people don't know when they can play Anthem. Because it's so complicated that even the chart doesn't really help. I've had to help people figure out when they'll be able to play Anthem. And it's maddening. It's maddening. But that's just the marketing around Anthem. That's just the release and the EA nonsense. So now I'm going to talk about my impressions of the demo. And before I get into this, before I start, criticizing it or complimenting it, I just want to say I like this game. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to be getting it when it comes out. I have enjoyed this demo. But it is not without its flaws. There is a consistent, seemingly frame rate issue it's almost like instead of running at 30 frames per second, it's about 27 or 28 frames per second. It's not like a massive downgrade, but it's just barely noticeable. It's barely noticeable. There's also a persistent audio glitch that sometimes audio will cut out. Sometimes specific audio, like the sound of your gun firing or the bullets hitting, will cut out. And this is actually a known glitch with the Frostbite engine. It was present in Mass Effect Andromeda, but because it's in the engine, they can't fix it. And they can't just use a different engine because EA doesn't want to pay for a different engine, so they're all being forced to use this engine that was not designed for this type of game. It was designed for first-person shooters, not, action RPGs like BioWare makes. So that's that. There's also been some connection issues. Sometimes the thing will crash. They call it a demo. It's essentially a beta, and they have talked about, yes, we know about these bugs. They're fixed in the final version, or no, we didn't know, but we're working on them, or yes, this feature will be in the final version, or like running in the social space for some reason isn't in the demo, but will be in the final version. Don't get that. But otherwise, I really like this game. It's very fun to move around in, and it's sort of hard to describe that, but there's this flight system in Anthem that allows them to build their world very vertically. There are tiered layers to boss fights or just enemy encounters. There's this huge enemy stronghold that's, built in this mountain so you can fight your way up, or you can go in from the top and just sort of spray bullets down below. And overall, the guns feel mostly great. There are a few that don't quite give, the same impact that you want from the guns. It makes it feel a little inconsistent. Also, the enemy AI is dumb as rocks sometimes. There are some enemies where you can, do standard, kite them into a corner and make them shoot at you. Stand on one side of the wall, they're on the other, and they'll try to shoot through the wall to get you instead of going around and shooting you. And then there are some enemies that you actually have to think tactically about. They will, teleport around. They will set traps where you actually have to think about how you're fighting them. And I don't mind either type of enemy. I think they both have their place, but I prefer if they stick with one type of AI or the other. And I'm not sure if this is something that will change in the main game or not. Also, the demo only allows you to access 2 of the 4 javelins, which are basically the classes. You start out with the Ranger Javelin, which is essentially the jack of all trades. It's, it's balanced for, being middle ground, offense, defense. And then you can access one of the 3 others, the Storm, the Interceptor, or the Colossus. Now, the Storm is essentially your wizard class. You get to float around, you get to throw, ice abilities and spells, or whatever you want to call them. There's the Interceptor, which is your rogue ninja. You run around really fast. You do a lot of melee damage. You set up combos. And then there's the Colossus, which is this massive, it's like 3 times the size of any of the other javelins. You could have your entire team riding on your shoulders, and I wish they let you do that. It has an enormous health bar. I think it's about 6 times larger than the other, javelin's health bars, and its purpose is to be a tank. It takes damage and it deals back out. It has, it has a shoulder-mounted mortar that shoots missiles. Its ultimate ability is, it feels like you're firing a nuke, and it's my favorite. And they have said that it's actually weaker in the demo than it will be in the full game. So.
Oh wow, that's promising.
Yes, and it's of course a looter shooter in the vein of Destiny and The Division, and actually Warframe 2, and it's been getting both negative and positive comparisons to all 3 of those games, and I think that's sort of inevitable. That's what's going to happen because it does have elements of all these games. But that doesn't mean it's just a ripoff. It's not going to be a Destiny killer just like The Division was a Destiny killer. It offers its own experience. Destiny is more focused on, small groups getting together and doing co-op activities, while Anthem, you can fly out into the world, meet someone, and both participate in an event that leads to a quest that leads to a dungeon. And that's pretty neat. That's not the type of experience you get with Destiny, mainly because there are a bunch of loading zones that split people up that aren't in a party together. And Anthem doesn't really do that. Now, there are more than a few loading screens, which is a little disheartening. It seems like whenever you go from the overworld into like one of these mini dungeons around here, there's a loading screen that sometimes, take longer than you'd like. Sometimes they're hit by a glitch or it's an infinite loading screen, though I think they've confirmed they have fixed that for the full game. But Anthem, it's its own game. It has elements of all these other games, but all these other games have elements of games that came before them and games that came before those, and it's game design is an iterative process. Of course, there are going to be similarities. And while I don't doubt that it was created to sort of capitalize on the looter-shooter trend, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that BioWare has created a really solid game with, a few issues, but nothing that can't be buffed out. And I think that it's well worth giving a chance. I'm definitely going to, and I'd encourage you to at least play the beta or demo because it's free. It's throughout the, till the end of Sunday. Just give it a shot if you're on the fence. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to like it. But I think a lot of people really will that aren't giving it a chance because of all the negativity surrounding it.
Well, you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. That's a green light from us when it comes to the demo for Anthem. And you, of course, should check it out. I haven't been able to play it myself, but I've seen gameplay footage, and it just looks amazing. I'm genuinely interested in Anthem, and I hope to eventually give it a shot whenever the opportunity arises. Now, with that being said, that reaches the end of today's episode. As always, my name is Ed Heitman, and joining me in the studio today is my good friend and co-host, Brian Rodriguez.
Hi.
Now, be sure to tune in next week and every Saturday from 1 to 2 here on KXVS, the voice of San Joaquin, where we talk about anything from movies to TVs to video games to comic books, you name it, and we do our very best to cover it. And now, without further ado, have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.